Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Oddcast, where we talk to people who are turning their passion into profession and subsequently their passion into paychecks. We are in-house at Thorn Brewing. We got Jay Jones in the building. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you today, my brother?
I cannot complain at all when we're at a wonderful place like this and drinking on a terrific West Coast beer.
Yeah, we're drinking beer. It's a beautiful day here in San Diego, down here in Barrio Logan. Good stuff.
Yeah, so we're in the Barrio Logan location, and just to briefly, when did that open it?
So we opened up last November, so a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago, we opened up.
Wow! First of all, congratulations on the
Thank
success.
you.
I mean, it's an absolute magnificent location, and
Yeah, it's a monster production facility, especially if you compare it to our original location in North Park, which is just a small, what we call a 7-barrel system, which only makes about 14 kegs of beer at a time. This is a 30-barrel system.
Wow.
Where we're capable of making 240 kegs of beer at a time.
Ooh. Wow, so that probably, I mean, your overhead goes up, but then the production also goes up as a result.
Yeah. It ramps up everything. We increased production by a little over 15-fold over this last year.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
So I mean, as a result, you're probably covering more bases and running around even more than you were.
Even more so now than ever before. So.
Yeah, which is the interesting thing. I mean, we'll circle back to it at the end, but I think sometimes when people are starting in a passion and whether that passion is at a desk job or not, they think that it's going to be less work than something that's not their passion. It actually turns out that it's usually more, but since you like it, it's enjoyable and tolerable.
Yeah. Well, let's say it's one of you always hear it's like, oh, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Well, that's a lot of bullshit. It's like if you love what you do, you work your ass off every day of your life because you love what you do.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier with this one, for example, you're surrounded by awesome people too.
Oh yeah.
Which the San Diego craft beer community is.
It's just amazing. I've been blessed. I've been doing this since I basically was 18 years old. Started kind of getting into craft beer. I was mentored by a couple of amazing guys. A gentleman by the name of Louis Mello, who opened up a bar called the Liars Club down in Mission Beach, which is kind of one of the legendary original craft beer bars here in San Diego.
Wow.
And then another gentleman named Dennis Borlick, who owns Fathom Bistro down in Point Loma. Those guys took me under their wing when I was 18 years old. Never allowed me to drink a bad beer. It was an amazing thing. They're like, Jay, you seem cool. Here, don't drink that Budweiser crap.
Is that how it just started? As
simply as
I have a choice.
Yeah.
Because these guys told me that I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So you're kind of one of those classics, like where you got inspired to do it from like your just love of drinking good craft beer.
Absolutely, yeah. It was fascinating. Like I was privileged to drink. So Vinny Chorizo, who owns Russian River Brewing Company, makes Pliny obviously and a bunch of other amazing beers.
Yeah.
His original brewery was in Temecula. It was called Blind Pig. He was college roommates with those guys. Wow. So I got to drink original Blind Pig IPA from Temecula as one of my first craft beers that I ever had.
Oh well, that's like trying the Wagyu beef before Hamburger Helper.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're screwed.
Yeah. So you're never going back after that.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So was that always, was it always kind of a thought that also, since seems like you were surrounded by people who were also in the game brewing, that was kind of something that you were going to take a dive into? Yeah,
it was going to be the natural progression. I myself, I've definitely brewed on big systems. I'm not really a big home brewer.
Okay.
But I always recognized my role in craft beer, which was to sell it, was to promote it, to advocate for it. When I turned 21, I was really fortunate to start working at a little small brew pub in downtown that's no longer there, called Baja Brewing Company.
Okay.
And with that was the first place that I worked that was an actual brewery. And so, I hate to name drop some more, but I'm going to name drop a little bit more. The brewers at the time when I started at Baja Brewing Company were Tommy Arthur, who's now the lead brewer and owner of the Lost Abbey, and a gentleman by the name of Kurt McHale, who started Melbourne Brewing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then across the street at Hops and Hang 10, I shit you not on this, Paul Segura, and his assistant was Chuck Silva, who was head brewer for Green Flash and now Silva Brewing Company.
That's insane.
Yeah. So these guys were, when I'm 21 years old, these are the dudes that I'm hanging out with every day, drinking beers, teaching me about beers.
You're like the like the pro skate, like Paul Rodriguez when he was just hanging around like pro skaters at like already super young.
Yeah. I call myself the Forrest Gump of San Diego craft beer because I just always manage to be in the same room with these guys, and I still don't know why or how it's ever happened.
Well, I mean, I think a certain amount of that is like, your attitude and your nature probably gravitates these people around, and you're smart enough to recognize, hey, you are who you surround yourself with. You take a little piece off of everyone, add your own uniqueness in, and
absolutely,
it's kind of who you are.
Yeah.
And time and time again, I've spoken to now, had the privilege of speaking to many different San Diego brewers, and time again, I see once they've had the ladder handed down to them, the first thing that they do is hand the ladder down to someone else and pull someone else up, and it's constant.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. That's one of the things that I've always advocated. I advocate for craft beer in general, but one of my favorite things is training, teaching, and educating. To me, the reason that craft beer is successful and craft beer here in San Diego has been extremely successful is people who have taken the time, people who mentored me. It made it my privilege, my honor to mentor other people.
Yeah.
So I got to teach and train other amazing bartenders and bring up other guys who now own breweries and do brewery stuff as well that are amazing. It's an amazing thing,
Yeah. And I mean, that goes to be said, whether it's, like you said, teaching actual techniques or business stuff, or even collabing, when they're first starting out and attaching like a name of a more established brewery to an up and coming one that helps out, garner some recognition.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome. And there's been nothing but great vibes that I've come across. And it's really cool. There's something about San Diego where it's like a big city vibe or a small city vibe, but in the resources of a big city.
Absolutely. I'm often fond of saying this is a super tiny town. It's a super tiny town just in general.
Yep.
It's a super tiny town when you talk about the hospitality world. And then it's even smaller in town when you talk about the brewery world. Like we've all been friends for years and years and years.
That's so cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, I guess the natural progression of the conversation then would be to kind of hone in on what's the inception then from, you kind of working at all these places and learning as you're working. When did the first thoughts of, was it first Thorn or was it first something else, or what was the initial inception into, hey, I'm going to take this ride?
That's a deep question. It's a lot of different factors, and I think the biggest one for me was when I first started bartending, and I remember this moment so vividly. It was one of my first shifts when I was working at Bob Brewing Company. It's a busy night. I was the only bartender on. Restaurant's packed, and I'm just working my ass off. I'm head down. Turn around or look up, and you just see all these smiling faces, and you're like, I'm partially responsible for the happiness of all these people. And that was the minute I was hooked.
Wow.
And then from there it was just turning people on. Like when I was at the Liars Club, we made the conscious choice to take off Miller Lite and Bud Light. And me and Luz talked about it. We're like, man, we're down at the beach. Like nobody's like, this isn't going to work. And all the naysayers came in. The Bud reps came in. It's like, are you crazy? You're going to take out Budweiser on a draft? You're on Mission Boulevard. You're 150 yards from the ocean. And we're like, yeah, but that beer sucks. Like,
simple as that.
Yeah, simple as that. And we're, and we had Yellowtail Pale Ale from Ballast Point, now called Pale Ale, and we can say whatever about Ballast. But then, when it was very small, still being produced out of the home brew mart, with just a few people, Colby Chandler in particular, Mike Mello was the sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
Yellowtail was it was the beer that I got people into craft beer, and that was so exciting to me. That made me so happy because you could take somebody who was drinking a macro beer and you're like, dude, I know, but try this. And they're like, oh, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, have a couple of these, hang out here for a week. Next week, we're going to put you in a pale ale. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, next week, got him on a pale ale. Fell in love with the pale ales, right? Next week after that, all right, let's try an IPA.
Yeah.
And now it's Racer 5 time for you.
Let's go.
And then it's like once you get them on that IPA thing, and you have that palate adjusted, it's all over. They're gonna be craft beer drinkers for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like how you said, palate adjustment. It's
Yeah.
totally true. I mean, I think even switching over again to draw back to the food analogy, if you're eating Big Macs all day and then you switch over to a Ruth Chris burger, it might taste a little weird. But eventually, you're going to get that palate adjustment. You're going to be like, "Whoa, what was I missing?"
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different flavors rather than this one stock, easily reproduced, mass-produced flavor.
That thing that thing that some people are just used to.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's the big goal of craft beer is to I always believe it's like if you put a good beer in somebody's mouth, they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's presented right, they're going to love it and they're going to fall in love with it and they're going to be craft beer drinkers forever.
Yeah. What's cool now too to see craft beer, and I think you guys have done a great job of accomplishing this, is like you're able to not be craft and not really adhere to any like strict guidelines, but you can pretty much, I can taste like whether it's a Pilsner or a Pale Ale or an IPA. If I'm drinking, I would be like, oh, I think that might be a Thorn or a Thorn collab because it has this certain nice distinct taste, which is
well, thank you.
The separators are. I mean, I say that of all the good craft breweries. I mean, there's still that nice distinct taste.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the touch of our brewmasters.
Yes.
You know, we're very, very blessed to have some amazing brewers here at Thorn. You know,
Yeah.
Eric O'Connor is one of the founders and is our brewmaster. Came from a science background.
Wow.
So he's a molecular biologist. So, he brought in, we were talking earlier about the ultimate blend of art and science when it comes to brewing. When you have a genius scientist, in the science part, the art comes along really very easily.
Some Breaking Bad shit, if you will. I mean,
exactly.
Basically.
And then our head brewer, Doug Palmaville, who came from Ballast Point, who's the guy who created Grunion.
Oh, wow.
So he's got a pretty nice pedigree himself.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So the team is assembled.
Yeah. We're very blessed here at Thorn. Sometimes we think we fell kind of ass backwards into all the amazing players that we have on this team, but we're really, really fortunate. It's an amazing team.
Well, I think, a certain amount of that is, again, time and time again, meeting brewers, entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, being nice to people and just being open to people, and really, giving them value is also like them giving you value back is really it's synergy and
absolutely
it's you guys have a great thing going on here. So now that we got a little bit of the inception in, I have to ask. So what's up with? We got to ask about the logo.
The raccoon on the bike.
The raccoon on the bike, just for everyone out there who may not know.
All right, so I can do this really, really quick. So I will do it. I will do it relatively quickly. So when we opened in 2012 in our North Park location on Thorn Street, 32nd and Thorn.
I love that building,
by the way. It's amazing. It's an old Craftsman house.
Yeah, it's like a little like half door, but more
Craftsman. Yeah. But we were half door before half door. No offense, I love those guys. Yeah. We opened before.
I remember that. Okay.
So we always like to call ourselves San Diego's original neighborhood brewery because we're right there in the heart of a neighborhood. We got residents all around us.
Yes, sir.
So then when we decided to expand and open up our location here in Barrio, we wanted to come up with a logo that kind of encompassed that vibe. And we're like, well, what's more synonymous with neighborhoods in San Diego than raccoons? They're in every backyard. Maybe possums, but they don't make a really good logo.
Yeah.
So we go with the raccoon. And then the penny farthing, which is the old style bike that he's wearing. I actually have a tattoo on my arm.
That's awesome.
His job security. So the penny farthing, the bike that he's riding, about 11 years ago or so, they started putting up bike racks in North Park and South Park on the sidewalks for people to lock up their bikes. Cool. And they were the old shape of the penny farthing. So if you go into North Park or South Park, you can still see them on some of the side streets.
Yep.
So it's not only an homage to all neighbors of San Diego with the raccoon, but our neighborhood in particular of North Park and South Park where we started.
Wow. Okay. So. And I think North Park is really, really. I mean, it's known now, but back then it was kind of still like completely unknown. And I mean, you could arguably like you guys are one of the reasons why it took off so fast. I think that has to be a pretty neat feeling.
Yeah, it is. I've been very fortunate. I've worked at a few different places on 30th Street. I was very, very blessed to help Ian Black open up the Tornado. I was the original.
Gosh.
I was the first manager of the Tornado in
North
Park.
Oh, I love that song.
So yeah. I tell you, I'm the Forrest Gump of craft beer, man. Dude. Like it's just silly. It's silly.
That's incredible.
I've been very, very fortunate to watch the growth of 30th Street.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And then when Thorn opened up 6.5 years ago, really technically speaking, the first brewery in North Park to open. When you think about all the tasting rooms and all the breweries that have opened up since then, if like technically speaking, if you're looking zip code wise, Automatic Brewing at Blind Lady Ale House, Lee Chase, that brewery was the first. You know, I consider that a little bit of a different neighborhood. Don't get me wrong, I love Lee Chase to death. I've known him for years. So, but yeah, so North Park. Yeah.
North Park is awesome. There's a different vibe about it. I mean, it's cool.
It's the amazing thing. You know, you can walk down 30th Street. For me, I'm always just an advocate of when I get to have the opportunity to meet somebody who's from out of town. It's like, where should I go? And I always recommend, always go to the Hotel Del. You stay in downtown, always go to the top of the Hyatt for at least a drink. All these, I could go to the zoo. But I'm like, if you're into craft beer and you don't really want to drive all the way up to Vista, down to the Hop Highway or into Miramar, which, don't get me wrong, those are amazing places to go and spend an afternoon. But if you're kind of on a time crunch, you can start on 30th and Adams and work your way down into South Park and end at Hamilton's. And you're going to get a beer from every single brewery that manufactures beer in San Diego at one place or another.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. I never thought about it like that. To where you could almost get most of them done in Tornado.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they got 75 handles there. So that's the thing. And then with all the tasting rooms, you can that afternoon right there, and some of the most amazing food. There's some amazing chefs on 30th Street. Yeah. If you're into craft cocktails, there's some amazing mixologists that are making some amazing stuff there too. Yeah. So it's the perfect thing. And you just walk down and you look inside and you go, "Is that cool? Yeah. Oh, let's go inside." Yeah. You look down. Is that cool? No, it doesn't sound cool. Then just keep walking.
Yeah, you can really gauge the vibe of it. I mean, because they're all the storefronts are all open. Yeah, it's cool. I really like the scene, and it's kind of cool is you'll see a nice mix of regulars and new people at every spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's there's a lot of times it gets kind of accused of being super hipster, and there's still a little bit of an element of that.
Yeah,
I think that's San Diego in general.
Yeah,
but it's such a wonderful eclectic mix of people when you go down there which makes San Diego so beautiful. That's why I love this city so much. Is because of that.
I didn't even think about how phenomenal the food is down there either. I mean,
there's some amazing gastropubs down there.
And you get basically fucking anything you want.
Anything you want. Yeah. You can get tacos. You can get small plates. You can get high end. You can get everything.
Yeah. So that being said, so then you guys developed in North Park, and then you expanded to which one was the next one?
This is the next one. This is the next one.
And so this is the next one, and then this is going to be kind of the hub of production. Hub, is this going to be also the hub of testing and?
No, so that's the nice thing is since the brewery system in North Park is smaller, it's more of our R&D facility right now, and also produces kind of our old classics, the ones that we've made over the years that our fans have really learned to love. Like our Golden Hills Pilsner, or Smuggler's Cove Agave Amber. So we produce those because we can produce those on kind of a smaller batch level because we're not necessarily selling them out into the market. It's really more to appease our fans at the tasting room.
So that's from a production standpoint, it actually gives value to have two different methods and sizes of production.
Absolutely, 100%.
Because you're not overdoing it on something
something that may not necessarily be a huge seller.
Yeah.
Out in the marketplace, it's just a style that let's face it, everybody really wants to drink IPAs, or they're going to want to drink like a lager or pilsner, and of course I think we make some of the best. But yeah, we just have these fan favorites. Our coconut porter, for example, we're going to start producing that on the small batch system.
Wow.
And then also lends it the opportunity, since we have such amazing talented brewers, to go up there and do a test batch of a new IPA style that they want to try, or even just a new. One of our brewers, Kenny, just brewed his first kind of rye milk stout. Turned out amazing, magnificent.
Really?
And
how does that? I'm so curious, just from an outsider's perspective. When you said what's the 100? Because there's thousands of steps, obviously.
Yeah.
But what's the process? Is it that they have an idea and that it's kind of been done before and they're making slight modifications, or it can be the total opposite, where it's everything from scratch?
I think it kind of depends on the brewer and where they're coming from. there's clearly always kind of steps to make a traditional stout or even a milk stout. So you're going to kind of follow those, and then you're going to kind of tweak them to what you want. And it really kind of depends on the level of experience and kind of the artistic creativity of the brewer as to what they want to do and how they want to expound on that and make it even better.
So more experience, more creativity, more leeway.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Because let's face it, this is still a commodity, and raw materials are still really expensive.
Oh, are they?
Extremely expensive, unfortunately. So
I think no one really understands. I think people sometimes. I think I'm probably guilty of this. Oh, well, they'll just chalk it up and try again.
Yeah.
It's like
no, you unfortunately, it's very expensive to dump a batch of beer down the drain.
Really?
Yeah, really expensive. You're talking, even on a 7-barrel system, you're talking, close to $1,000. And that's just cost of goods. Yeah, that's just cost of goods. That's not even what we would, in theory, make on it. That's just literally the raw materials and labor to produce that. So that's the kind of the double-edged sword. That's the thing that a lot of people don't know about the brewing industry, and why I often people, if I'm at an event or a festival and they're like, I don't understand why this brewery makes such bad beer. Don't they know it's bad, or if it's infected, or if it just doesn't taste good? What a myriad of reasons why they would say, hey, this brewery's making bad beer. I have to literally say to them, it's like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea that they're doing this, because you're probably not going to ever drink their beer again. But you need to understand that they have thousands and thousands of dollars tied up in that, and if they're not selling it, then they're not paying rent.
Yeah, that's lost overhead.
And rent's due on the 1st, so you got to do what you got to do. These are really tough choices. It's tough choices that these breweries have to make,
especially in undefined times, as we were talking about before the podcast.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, it's disappointing when the bad beer comes out from a bad brewery. But I understand it.
Yeah. Of course.
It is a difficult choice, and that's why it's really important to have talented brewers, but have real control over what you're doing when it comes to the brewery system, and making sure everything's clean and you're doing your due diligence, cleanliness wise and packaging wise. There's so many things that can go wrong because it is a living organism all the way to the end. There's just so many things that can go wrong, and if you're not doing your due diligence on all of those things, beer can go bad real fast. Beer can go bad in less than 24 hours.
So just to get the summarizing is you're like treating it like a living organism.
100%, because it is still living there. The yeast. So we don't pasteurize, and most craft beer breweries here in San Diego don't pasteurize their beer, which is basically to heat it up and kill everything that's in there.
Okay, it's kind of the safe, easy route.
And the bigger breweries will do that, but we can't afford that. We can't afford a pasteurization machine.
Would you if you could? Or?
Probably not, because there's so many. When you keep, because it's live yeast in there, no matter what.
I can imagine that would have side effects that would also negate some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And beer, because it is living, it does change over time. Yeah, and it can get better, and it can improve. IPAs are certainly, and IPAs and a lot of American-style ales should definitely be drank freshest. That's when they are best. But when you get into like sours or stouts, those beers are kind of even better when they age.
Oh yeah, I still have. Shout out and RIP, but I still have a couple Council bottles.
Nice, yeah. See, and those things are only going to get better.
Yeah, I know.
Only going to get better.
Every time I walk by them, I'm like, no, don't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I have such trouble when it comes to my cellar collection as well. So I was having, there's many a morning I've woken up on the couch and looked over at my coffee table and said, "Why did I just do that?"
Dude, I feel like those are the ones too where it's like, I won't drink like any of the nice ones for a while. Then I'll have one. I'll be like, fuck it, I'll have two.
Yeah,
fuck it, I'm enjoying the night. Then then
it's like it's 3 in the morning. You're with your friends. You're like, yeah, let me break out this Damnation 23 real fast, and you're just like. Look, we didn't need it.
Nope.
I could have just drank a nice Sierra Pale at that point.
But hey, that's what beer is all about.
100%. That's what I always say. It's, beer is meant to. It was founded on civilization. Beer founded civilization.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're talking, Mesopotamia. Like, beer is the foundation of modern civilization. I'm often fond of saying, I think that written language was a necessity because of beer.
Why is that?
People started writing on caves. Why are you talking about? So, the story of how beer was produced is ancient Mesopotamian times. Grain got wet, fermented. It's the wintertime. You didn't have anything else to eat. You ate it. You copped a really nice buzz. Those guys were like, dude, you got to write this shit down, man. So they wrote it on walls. Because why else would you even want to write anything down? If you think about it in those times,
so true.
In those times, what other need would you have to write anything down? No,
I don't want to document my squalor. Like, no,
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, this kid died. You're not writing that shit down. No. Look, I copped a really good buzz. Hey, make sure that you put the grain over in this part of the cave so the water drips in it.
That is actually you know what? There's probably a silly amount of truth to that.
I firmly believe it. And then you could also look, and so you can look at the numbers too of the procreation rates after beer was invented. Beer got people buzzed up and horny, and they started banging more, and then made more kids, and that's true. It's a population explosion.
Wow.
after really the document cases of beer.
Was there? I mean, I wonder if there was like any. I mean, because that does go hand in hand with the whole like the prohibition was the people like who protested it were the ladies who were like also big into abstinence as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's all
tied together. And you got to think of the foundation of this country, United States. You know, these guys didn't meet in meeting halls. These guys met in pubs over ales, drinking beers. Like we wrote the Constitution buzzed up.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's what made it so brilliant.
I think we should probably bring a little bit that back to politics so they can just at least agree on some shit.
At some point, you know what I mean?
They did used to say that like even back when there was like turmoil in like the 80s and 70s that like Republicans and Dems used to go out and get tossed together like and you know would be buddy by the end of the night. And you can't tell me that doesn't help at least a little bit when I'm seeing you across the aisle next day just
it lubricates the process. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. That's cool. I mean, just inherently from the conversation, I feel like you're kind of trying to like continue that going, like
100%, because it's going to continue. It has to continue. And that's what it is, and that's the thing. It's like I'm not a huge fan of guys who kind of sit in their basement and just drink their beers by themselves and put them on the internet. That's not so much the case anymore. I think we're getting away from that. I think there was a trend a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so, when that was really kind of the thing.
Yeah, that's more like an exclusivity thing.
Yeah, and now I'm really starting to see that it's becoming more of a communal thing, and people are coming out and hanging out in pubs, hanging out in tasting rooms and in brew pubs and in bars, and doing this exact same thing, because I think it's inherent in the nature of man to want to do that.
Oh, I totally agree. And you know, I think also like, you know, just to tie it into not only what you do, what we're doing here is, you know, ultimately everyone wants to kind of have some passion project or side project, and if that could be just coming and trying out good beers with your friends, having a great conversation, and taking a load off catching a sports game. That's a passion. That's a pursuit of happiness.
Yes,
that's for sure
100%. Yeah, that's escapism at its finest as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like the pressures of it. You know, let's face it. It's hard. It sucks in 2019 sometimes in this world.
Even Gandhi, life is eternal suffering, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like the most positive guy says, life is eternal suffering. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we just should have gave him an IPA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you probably would have been mad because it was the British occupying. So, but I like where we went with that.
Oh, man, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, you know, I think it's super cool. Does being in just this location, being in Barrio Logan versus the other one being in North Park, does it inspire you in different ways to do different things with them, with kind of keeping the same Thorn identity behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our big things. It's like I said, we like to consider ourselves San Diego's original neighborhood brewery.
Yep.
And so that was really the choice when we came down here to Barrio Logan. Barrio translates to neighborhood. It's the neighborhood of Logan. Yep. It made perfect sense for us. So our tasting room approach here is very similar to our tasting room approach in North Park, where we want to attract the people that live in this neighborhood to come and drink in this neighborhood.
Awesome.
So we work with a lot of local artists, local musicians. We have a lot of local bartenders here as well. They come in and really make the place feel like it is a neighborhood vibe, and that's exactly what we're going after. So we're about to open up our new tasting room in Mission Hills. It's going to be the same concept there, but we really want it to be a Mission Hills centric place. It's not, it'll be Thorn, because we'll have Thorn beer there, and we'll have that very Thorn aesthetic.
The undercurrent.
But the Thorn undercurrent is community
Yeah.
and neighborhood and helping out neighborhoods and doing fundraisers for our neighbors and schools and doing all those things. And that's exactly what we're doing here at Barrio Logan. And that's what we're going to do in our Mission Hills location as well.
That's awesome. So the theme of it inherently lends itself for you guys to be able to bob and weave and change, not change, but be able to adapt based on the neighborhood, what you think is going to be more enticing to the people in that given neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's what it should all be about, like we were discussing ad nauseum. I mean, that's really, really fun. And so I know we were talking about the one you did with the McElhaney clan, but how much fun is it now? We talked about, learning from other breweries.
Yeah.
How much fun is it actually now, being an established brewer, being an established brewery, and getting to collab with, bigger, smaller, similar sized breweries from California, not California? How fun is that?
It's amazing. So we are super, super blessed that we've collab, what we like to call collabing up, where we get to collab with these emissaries, these amazing people like Pat McElhaney, and we're about to release a collab with Modern Times.
Oh wow!
Which is going to be amazing. Triple hazy IPA coming out May 18th, Saturday. Come by the tasting room. It's going to be ridiculous. But we've collabed with kind of smaller up and coming breweries like Pure Project, and we did an amazing Brute IPA. We've done a few collabs. That's really great.
Really, is that the one that just came out? Or?
No, it came out a while ago.
Well, there was one that I saw at Bottlecraft that came out that it was in it might not have been a collab. It was in a green or yellow can.
Yeah, shoot.
I think it was you guys collabed with someone.
Yeah, it was that was the hazy collab that we did with.
It was insane.
McKellar.
Yeah, that was
our McKellar collab was great.
Yeah.
And then which was another amazing one, kind of collabing up. And then we've also got to work with some up-and-coming breweries. Like we did the Pure Project one, or Three Punk Ales out of Chula Vista. We love working with those guys.
So the two upcoming things, obviously, are the Modern Times collab and then the Mission Hills location.
And the Mission Hills location, hopefully opening here in early July.
And then, early July, and then the Modern Times collab was...
We're going to collab, it's going to be May 18th, Saturday, May 18th.
And that's the triple hazy?
It's a triple hazy IPA, 11%.
Yeah.
We almost broke the brewery making this beer. The mash tun was the fullest it's ever been. It literally took my brewers close to 3 hours to scoop out all the grain.
Wow.
That's how strong and badass this beer is going to be.
Wow. What worries me is it's going to be so drinkable, though, too.
Oh, yeah.
I hate... You guys always make these, Modern Times does it, too, and now you guys are collabing on one of making these, 8 and up percentage beers literally taste like 5.5, like a session. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, we have a kind of a motto internally that we like to make what we call 3 beers. It's like beers you can have 3 of. So that's what we typically, all of our core beers are about 7% or less.
Okay.
But it's the same aesthetic that goes into when we do make these high octane, high ABV beers. Is we still want to make 3 beers. It's just you probably shouldn't have 3 of them and do anything else, but you can.
You should.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, please drink 3.
Yeah.
Drink a whole 6-pack.
That's pretty awesome. I think that's really cool, and I think that plays into your whole theme of what you're saying of this isn't just a place to come and sit on your phone. And this is a place to come, interact, have 3 beers, because that's going to loosen up the conversation. Your friends get you talking about
just about anything and everything.
Hopes and dreams, or just take the load off of the day.
Exactly, yeah.
Or, BSing about the local sports team. I mean, hey, our Padres are doing pretty damn well this year.
Thank goodness. It's fantastic. It's really fun to watch. I'm a lifelong Padre fan, so so this is great.
I actually saw a mini documentary of how they were able to open Petco so astoundingly on the vote was obviously the promise of revitalization of downtown, which usually doesn't work, but tell me, that paid off.
Yeah.
But it was on the heels of the 98 World Series appearance.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Were you one of the fans who stayed and was cheering them on to come back out?
I was very privileged. I was privileged to be at Game 3 of the World Series.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and the single greatest and worst Padre moment of my life. So, for people who don't remember, we were up 2 runs.
Yep.
Going into the 8th. Looking good. We lost the first 2 games in New York, but we were looking really dominant in this game.
Yeah.
Hell's Bells comes on. Everybody's got their white towels. They're swinging them. I still refer to it as Jack Murphy Stadium. It's the Murph to me. It'll always be the Murph to me. Everybody's waving their towels. Just goosebumps. This is great. Hell's Bells is playing. Trevor Hoffman, arguably the best closer in the game at the time, is coming out. Like, we're going to win this game. Fast forward a few pitches later. Jim Leyritz. I'm sorry, my seats were dead center, second row from the top at the Murph. So I couldn't see the ball land, but you just watched. If you ever want to watch 57,000 breaths just go out of a room, it was right then. It
Heart's
was
just dropping.
Oh, it was heartbreaking, and that all in the space of about 15 minutes. The greatest and the worst.
Surreal.
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, it's been a great time talking to you, Jay. I really appreciate it. We've run the gamut on a lot of great subjects. You know, leave the opportunity to hopefully meet once again. You know, down the road.
Heck yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah. So, you know, we've talked about what's coming next. Any shout outs you want to give? You know, I know it's obviously we've talked about a lot of the mentors, a lot of people who you've collabed with, a lot of the great brewers here. But any shout outs you want to give, and then any advice for anyone out there who wants to take that leap of turning their passion into a profession and subsequently a paycheck?
You know, I want to give a big shout out to the San Diego craft beer community. All of us all of us individually and collectively, raising the bar every day, holding each other accountable every day to do the right thing, to make the best beer we possibly can, to collaborate not only in individual beers but ideas and thinking. I love my friends at Three Punk Ales, Society, Fall Brewing, Burning Beard, Carl Strauss. Big shout out to Paul Segura. All the amazing craft beer bars in town, O'Brien's, Scott Blair over at Hamilton's. You got Small Bar, all these amazing places. And then advice for somebody wanting to take that leap of faith, just do it.
Yep.
And
it should scare you.
If it doesn't scare you, then you're not doing what is really you're passionate about. And that's the thing. And we talked about it earlier. It's like, if you love what you do, you don't work. You work every day of your life, but it's such an enjoyable work. I work 7 days a week, close to probably 10, 14 hours a day. But I do it because I'm so passionate about it, because I love it so much, and it's so important. It's so much what it is to be Jay Jones, is to do that. And if you're going to do that in anything you want to do, you need to feel that way as well.
Wow. So yeah, your passion is almost defines who you are.
100% defines who I am. This is who I am. It's because of the passion that I have for this industry.
Powerful. Well, I mean, we appreciate you bringing great beer to the craft community, craft beer community in San Diego, and just San Diego in general, across California and the country. Look out for that triple hazy, and look out for the Mission Hills coming up. But it's been great talking to you, Jay.
Definitely a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming out, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening to another episode of The Oddcast, where we talk to people who are turning their passion into paychecks. Have a great day. Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast.